reading and writing teacher in Long Island City, Queens, and lives in Elmhurst. His website is timfredrick.com. Please welcome him.
Thank you. I will be reading from the first few pages of a short story called Driving Lessons. Mondays and Wednesdays, I stock the root vegetables, carrots, potatoes, yams, radishes, and celery root. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I stock the leafy greens, spinach, kale, bok choy, Swiss chard, and for the most part, various forms of lettuce, romaine, and the like. Fridays, I'm in charge of apples and pears. I work part-time every day after school in the produce department of the local food castle. Today is Monday. The Idaho Goldens came in today. They are stacked in pyramid form at the front of the produce section. I notice it is 9 o'clock, the end of my shift. I turn from the brown brick structure to look out the front window to the parking lot, standing on my toes and moving my head up and down. I can see my only brother, Frank, 22 years old, between the buy one get one free pizza and 99-cent toilet paper ads. He wears sunglasses even at night. It gives him a sense of mystery, the kind of mystery a spy might have. The subtle mystique of someone who knows something you don't and wants to keep it that way. He stands against the back bumper of his new red car, one leg crossed over the other. This car is the first thing he purchased after signing his contract to work at the firm. A present to himself, he said. He is here to pick me up because I do not have my driver's license. I'm not sure why he volunteered to do this when he moved back home last week, but I like that he did. I have not seen him since the beginning of his freshman year of college. I roll my cart back into the stock room, the left front wheel squeaking and the back right wheel spinning uncontrollably. I untie my maroon Food Castle produce apron and throw it on top of the cart. I punch out as I push through the swinging stockroom door, and as I walk away from it, I can hear it swinging vigorously back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until I am out of ear range. I nod and smile to the cashiers who are counting their bills and coins and coupons and credit card receipts. They are my age, but I don't have much to talk to them about. The automatic exit door opens as I approach, and when I walk through, I can see Frank, still leaning. I walk closer and can begin to see my reflection in his sunglasses, hooked into his t-shirt. I am short and skinny, fair-skinned and dark-haired, average-looking at best. I am not noticed or remembered for being too good-looking or too bad-looking. I can see all of this in the reflective lenses. Hey, I say. Yo, he says, looking at what seems to be my left ear. He unhooks his sunglasses and puts them on. I think he's looking at me. I can still see myself in his sunglasses, standing there looking at him, and I wonder if this is how he sees me, small and convex, a distortion. Let's roll, kid, he says. We open the car doors at the same time and get in the car. In the 4 years since he went off to college, Frank has come to resemble our father more and more. Part of this seems to be biological, the pronounced jawline, the long fingers and bushy eyebrows. And part seems to be deliberate, the same haircut and meticulously manicured hands. I examine these aspects as he turns the key in the ignition and shifts the car into reverse. He turns to his right to look out the back window, quickly and definitively extending his right arm behind the passenger side seat where I sit. I can feel his right hand pressing the back of the seat. When the car has backed out of the parking spot, Frank releases his grip on the seat and shifts into drive. A turn of the wheel and gentle acceleration has sent us on our way home. The car ride is silent. Our suburban town has, as usual, receded by this time at night. The 4-lane street which serves as the main thoroughfare in our town, one that we must traverse to arrive home or go anywhere, is practically empty. The night is dark and the streetlights cast a dull glow every 50 yards. I look out the passenger side window and see the empty parking lots of mega stores and strip malls. The only sound is the high-pitched whine and occasional thump-thump-thump of the car's tires on the asphalt. There is something safe and isolating about being in a car on an abandoned road. The anxiety of traffic is absent, but the feeling of desolation is present. We learned about agoraphobia in psychology class today, and I wonder if this is what it feels like, a terrifying sort of freedom. I am startled out of this thought when Frank turns on the radio. The beat of the drums in the song currently playing seems to shake the very frame of the car. My brother, with one arm resting on the driver's side door, taps the thumb of his other hand on top of the steering wheel in time with the drums. I can see him softly mouthing the words of the song. I notice for the first time since he has been back that he could probably grow a full beard. I run my hands over my cheeks, jaw, and mouth, and imagine how rough it must feel to Frank when he does the same to his own face. Great song, I say, even though I never listen to music or turn on the radio. What? He yells over the volume of the music. I try to raise my voice. Great song! He smiles and nods his head. No doubt. He signals that he is turning right at the next intersection, even though no cars seem present to signal to. As we approach the intersection, I watch Frank turn the steering wheel with simply the thumb and forefinger of his right hand. Will you teach me how to drive? I ask. What? He yells. I raise my voice. Will you teach me how? Frank reaches to the knob on the radio and turns down the volume. Sorry, what? This is only the second time tonight that he has looked at me. He pulls his sunglasses up and places them on the top of his head. For the first time in years, we are looking at each other eye to eye. I swallow and open my mouth to speak, but my lips and tongue betray me. Frank glances at the road and then back to me. Again, we are eye to eye. I said this car must be really nice to drive, I say. Oh yeah, the best money I've ever spent, he responds. Halfway through this statement, he turns his gaze back into the road, and I feel released from our mutual gaze. I really couldn't decide to get it in red or not, because they say that red cars get pulled over by the cops more than any other car. But I thought, when is the next time I'm going to have the opportunity to buy a gray car? He smiles and pulls his sunglasses down onto the top of his nose. Red's great, is the only thing I can think of to say. No doubt, he says. 2 blocks later, we arrive to our house. Frank pulls the car into the beginning of the driveway, puts it in park, and turns the ignition off. He turns to me, and by the way he inhales and opens his mouth, it seems like he's going to say something. I raise my eyebrows in response. A beat or two of silence passes. Has Mom taken you to get driving lessons or anything yet? He asks. I can feel my face flush with warm blood, and I experience problems exhaling. No, not yet, I say, shaking my head a little too vigorously. He looks to the dashboard and wipes something off one of the air vents, and then something else off the right leg of his jean. He looks back up at me. Our eyes do not meet. I look at his eyes, but he seems to be looking behind me. Bummer, he whispers. Not a big deal, I say. Oh. He seems genuinely surprised. He releases his seatbelt and opens his door. Who'd want to drive her shitty-ass car anyway, right? No doubt, I say. I release my seatbelt, open the door, and begin to walk to the front door. I can see the living room lights are on, and the flickering indicates that the television is on as well. As I enter the front door, which opens almost right into the living room, I can hear that my mother is watching a police drama. She looks up at me and smiles. Frank enters behind me. She looks at him, smiles, sits up a bit, and says, "Hi, Frank." I walk along the edge of where the living room and the kitchen meet to the hallway leading to my room. The first things to come off my tired body are my sneakers. The muffled voices of my mother and Frank seep through the slightly open door to my room. "Mr. Wellstone called, dear," my mother says. "Oh, did he? My boss called you?" The refrigerator door opens. "Yes, he said he was so pleased with your work and that your father would have been proud." Her voice cracks. "They were good friends, Frank." "I know that. He was kind to Joey and me at the funeral." His voice echoes from just inside the refrigerator. "He's a good man," my mother says. "He really knows the business. I have a lot to learn from him," Frank says. "Your father used to say," I gently shut the door. I hear the latch snap into place. I unbuckle my belt and let my pants drop to the floor and step out of them. I pull the back of my shirt over my head, wipe my eyes with it, and let it drop where I stand. Off the floor, I pick up a pair of athletic shorts and step into them, taking steps to my dresser, where I retrieve a plain white undershirt from the top drawer. These are my study clothes. I have an algebra test in the morning. I can still hear the murmuring from the living room and try to ignore it as I open my textbook and notebook. It is 9:30 at night, and I figure if I study until 11:30, I should do fine on the test. I'm pulled from a dream that I immediately forget to the sound of Frank's voice. "Mom said I could give you driving lessons." My vision has not quite returned to the world of the waking, and I feel disoriented. I look at the clock by my bedside and see that it is 10:45. The notebook and textbooks splayed on the floor by my bed mean that I fell asleep while studying. Huh? Still disoriented, my eyes blinking furiously. Frank had been standing at the foot of my bed, but was now approaching the side of it. He takes a seat on the mattress, just missing my knee. Driving lessons, you and me. Oh, I'm not sure how to process what's going on. I must have fallen into a deep sleep. Well, if you'd rather not, his voice trails off. I sit up quickly. No, no. You'd rather not? He looks at me and Dad's eyebrows on Frank's face push toward one another. I shake my head. No, I mean, yes, driving lessons, yes. I try to rub the sleep from my eyes. Dad's eyebrows relax. Cool. I nod. He slaps my thigh, smiles, and leaves without a word. I lie back in bed and stare at the ceiling for the remainder of the night. Thank you.